So let us start with the Q&A session. So tonight there's not many questions, but a bit long to explain, but it's okay. So, and before we go this one, make sure that tomorrow you all have the, some of you, or most of you have the interview. Okay, so let's go to the Q&A, a question. So where's my question? Okay, this one. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, this question. Bhante, during walking meditation, I walk one face, left, right, but slower speed like two face in Vipassana. 50% mindfulness, 50% metta. When I radiated metta while standing, I could feel my heartbeat become clearer and obvious. It interrupted my radiation of metta. My sentences kept breaking up, then I stopped to radiate metta. But the heartbeat just kept getting more obvious. This only occurred while I was standing, not there during walking. Okay. Sometimes also happen in the middle of my sitting. Bhante, please advise. Thank you. My walking meditation starts with a few rounds of 100% mindfulness, then only turn to 50% mindfulness, 50% metta. Okay. But the thing is that this question, she answered it herself already. She sent this question to me earlier, but after that at 7:30, then she said that she's already answered her own question. But anyway, I put it up because number of us also have this problem. Not only she's the only one, but others also have this problem. So I thought of putting it up. So what she do is this. What should she do? Let me see. She said that she already, during this time, when the heartbeat is there, she just keep it aside and continue with radiation of metta. She said here, Bhante, when I finish my meditation, I can solve my problem just now. I keep the obvious heartbeat aside and can smoothly finish radiating metta without interference. Exactly. So this one, in metta, all we need to do is most of the thing, whatever that arises during metta meditation or during samatha meditation, be aware of them, don't fear them, don't do anything about them. They are just physical phenomena. And when it happens, just be aware of them, put them aside, and then continue with the metta radiation or radiating the metta. If you're doing anapanasati as a samatha practice, also the same thing. If you feel the heartbeat and if it's strong, just be aware of it, then put it aside, go back to the in-breath, out-breath. This is for the way how we do samatha practice. But a lot of us that when it comes to this physical thing, a lot of us have certain fear that they're going to have a heart attack. Maybe, because they have never seen this before. How come the heart is beating so fast right now? Beep, beep, pop, pop, beep, beep, pop, pop. Bhante, like that, very hard to meditate. Next time I suddenly stop, how? Yeah, afraid to die. Yeah, at least you have died meditating. The whole mind is quite good. A little better than when you are dying with all kind of mind is confused and with the fear and so on. But anyway, you're not going to have any problem, I don't think so. Unless perhaps you have a very, very substantial problem of the body, and then the heartbeat become very irregular, then that one is different story. But for most of us, in the meditation, this heartbeat can be quite obvious. It can be quite obvious. And actually, especially when it comes into Vipassana, this heartbeat can be quite obvious. And this heartbeat is where we begin actually to understand and slowly begin to notice the nature of the mind. It's not just physical heartbeat only, but sometimes they are more than that. But that is under vipassana. But under the metta, we don't worry about whether it's mind or physical problem. We just aware of them and put it aside. Don't need to get angry over it. Don't need to get fearful over it. If you're fearful, then the metta you cannot able to do anything. Okay? So this is on the first question. All right. The second question. Okay. You mentioned that anger can cause rebirth in lower realms. Scary. Most of us have problems with anger. Earlier, some of us might have cursed and swear and wish the hated person go to hell, and many bad, terrible wishes. After learning the Dhamma or Karma, we become more mindful and restrained. Okay. 1. If one has not yet developed metta and upekkha well, but when in contact with the disliked, hated person with effort and training, then there is only very little mild hateful mental proliferation and no physical hateful action. Can this also cause a low rebirth? Okay. Number 2, please explain at what degrees of anger and physical actions will result in undesirable low rebirth. Okay. Now, when we look at this type of questions, first of all, I do not have this psychic power to exactly see what your actions what the actions and then what is going to correspond. We follow the teachings of the Buddha. Now we surrender to the teachings of the Buddha in that sense. Unless you have this psychic power, then actually you can actually see all these type of things. This is what we call the divine eye, and also understanding of cause and effect. It sees the nature of cause and effect. It sees how the being arises and reappear in other because of due to certain. And this is part of the supernormal powers which you can develop through samatha meditation. But since most of us do not have those quality, so it's going to be difficult for me to actually tell you how is it like. But the Buddha has answered this question. And let us take a look into what the Buddha said. So you say that some of the anger, although it is mild anger, no physical action, can this cause low rebirth? And your question here, when the degree of the anger, how is the degree of anger cause low rebirth and so on? That the Buddha mentioned it. Let us go to this one. Let's go to what the Buddha said. Okay, let me stop this sharing. Then I go to my Kindle. Okay, all right. Can y'all see this Chula Kama Vibhanga Sutta? Okay, yeah, all right. Now in this sutta, and it is called Chula Kama Vibhanga Sutta, the shorter exposition of karma or action. Now this is I don't want to go through all of them, but this is generally a discussion about how a human being, the question starts with this, Master Gautama, because this one is from another sect, another Brahmin sect, came to see the Buddha. Master Gautama, what is the cause and condition why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? For people are seen to be short-lived and long-lived, sickly and healthy, ugly and beautiful, influential and uninfluential, poor and wealthy, low-born and high-born, stupid and wise, foolish and wise. What is the condition, Master Gautama? Why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? All right, good. Now, student, beings are owners of their actions, heir of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuge. It is action that distinguishes being as inferior and superior. Okay, I do not understand in detail the meaning. Okay, you want to elaborate this? Okay, then listen, attend closely what I shall say. Okay, number 5. Okay, here we go with this number 5. Here, student, some man or woman kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, giving blows and violence, merciless to living beings. Because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body, after death he reappears in a state of deprivation, in unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. State of deprivation, that means you are reborn in the beta world or reborn in the animal world, or the asuras, then even in hell. But if on the dissolution of the body and after death, he does not reappear in the state of deprivation, unhappy death, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is born, he is short-lived. This is the way, student, that leads to a short life, namely one kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, giving to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. This number 5, we can understand because it's part of our first precept. And we prevent from killing living beings, because if there's a killing, then there is a violence there. That means the mind itself, there's a certain degree of hate or anger, although it may be motivated by greed, a bigger motivation, but during the time of action, it have that anger. That's why we break the precept. Therefore, when we kill, then there will be consequences. And as the Buddha says, if that killing is strong, it will bring us to the woeful states. But if the killing is not, in the sense that it's not, but if it comes back to the human state, maybe later on, if it comes back again later on, or if perhaps the action, how strong the degree is, then he will be reborn short-lived. That I cannot able to know how much is higher degree and slightly lower degree that you're going to be reborn in the woeful states or is going to be reborn back in the human state. Now, that one is beyond my capability to see it. Okay, but that's what the Buddha mentioned. Okay, so number 6 is to inform us to abandon. So abandoning of killing living being, abstain from killing living beings with rods and weapon laid aside, gentle and kindly. He abides compassionate to all living beings because of performing and undertaking such action. On the dissolution of the body and after death, he reappears in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. Okay, but if on the dissolution of the body after death, he does not reappear in the happy destination in the heavenly world, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is long-lived. So some of you look at yourself, how old are you? Maybe already 70, 80, yeah, long-lived. So maybe in the past you don't kill and steal and so on. So something like that, okay? Now we go to the next one, number 7. Number 7 is not to go with killing, but because of anger. Here, student, some man or woman is given to injuring beings with a cloth, with a stick, or with a knife, because of performing performing an undertaking such action, on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in the state of deprivation. But if instead, if he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is born, he is sickly. This is the way, student, that leads to sickliness. Namely, one is given to injuring beings with hand, with God. Okay. All right. Here, number 8. It says that if he abandoned all these things, then he reappears in the happy destination. But if he comes back to the human state, he is reborn. Wherever he is reborn, he is healthy. Okay. So here you see, on number 7, the thing is that you don't even kill, but you injured other living beings with the violence and cruelty. Okay, with the violence and cruelty, but the being does not die, but because of your anger and your action, it brings you to the woeful states. So it is strong. That anger can be strong. That anger, when it says that anger, it is dosa root, the Pali called the dosa root. So the dosa root includes ill will, anger, jealousy, sadness, and so on, And those roots are very strong root and can bring one to woeful states. So if you avoid that, then when you're reborn in a happy destination, or if you're reborn back in the human world, then you will be healthy. That's what the Buddha said. Okay, number 9. Here, student, some man or woman is of angry and irritable character. Even when criticized a little, he is offended, becomes angry, hostile, and resentful, and display anger, hate, and bitterness. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if he instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is born, he is ugly. This way, now. So again here, you see, even with your angry character alone, with all your verbal abuse to other people and angry to other people, because of that, that also can bring you all the way to woeful states. Not just killing only. So again here, if you avoid number 10, paragraph number 10, if you avoid it, now if you avoid them and therefore you're reborn in a happy destination, or if you come back in the human state, then you're reborn beautiful. You'll be born good looking. Okay, this is number 10. When Buddha says it's beautiful, this is comparatively to all human beings. You don't compare to the human beings and to a deva, that's not a comparison, or human beings to an animal, that is not a comparison. When it says beautiful, it's comparatively to other human beings. 11. Okay. Here, students, some man or woman is envious, who envies, resents, and begrudges the gains, honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. Because of performing such undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is uninfluential. Here again, you see, even your jealousy alone, even your envy of other people's gains or belonging, and your eyes get green, then when other people get more than you, get better than you, or more beautiful than you, with that thing, just with that jealousy alone, then it can bring one to state of deprivation. But if it comes back very uninfluential. Uninfluential, sometimes we say, what's the big deal? No, It is a big deal because sometimes you do business, no matter how you talk, nobody want to buy from you, no matter how good your product is. But some people just talk a little bit, everybody come already. How come? How come the business so easily? Cooking something only, not so good. Also, he cook not so good, but a lot of people also come and buy. And other people's food is good, but not many people want to buy. And some people again, even when you come become a monk, also the same thing. Even the monk is wise and clear, but then when he speak, somehow or another, he cannot influence people, although his words are clear and deep. Whereas there are some monks who just speaks very simple, but influence a lot of people. That also, and it's something like that. So here, number 11. So even you don't kill just by jealousy alone, then it brings you into, or anger alone, it brings you into a state of deprivation. Okay. Okay, number 13. Number 13 is not concerning with anger, but now it's concerning with your generosity or your greed or that hoarding mental attitude. What is it? Not avarice. There's one word for it. Anyway, here, students, some man or woman does not give food, drink, clothing, carriages, garlands, scents, unguents, paid dwellings, and lamps to the recluses of Brahmins. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he did reborn. But if he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is poor. Yeah, and here again, because of you are not doing anything in the past. I mean, you're not doing generosity in the past. Number 14. Yeah. If you come back, you appear in the happy destination, then you're reborn healthy. Again, here number 15. Some man or woman is obstinate and arrogant. He does not pay homage to one who should receive homage, does not rise up for one who is present, he should rise up, does not offer a seat to one who deserves a seat, does not make way for one whom he should make way, does not honor, respect, revere, venerate one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Now, this one, this can be your parents. Okay, this can be your parents. This can be monks or nuns. This can be somebody who has a certain position, and in a sense that you are in a way subordinate compared to the person. Maybe he's the boss. Maybe he's the owner of a certain place, and so on. So sometimes we become very obstinate, very conceited, very thinking about oneself only, and we don't care about others. Now this number 15, we can see that nowadays, especially in the Western society, when we talk about freedom, when they take the freedom into overdrive the whole meaning, overstretch the meaning of freedom, then everybody, they don't care about it anymore. Everything is about I have the right, I have to do this, I have the this, and then you just don't care about others anymore. Whether young, old, whether it's parents or whether it's you just don't care anymore. So this when even with that, one appears in the state of deprivation. And if he comes back again, he is reborn as a low-born. That means in a society where people look down on them. As much as we don't want to have all this racism and caste, financial caste system, not just only the Indian caste system, but financially, in life, sometimes people look at it whether you are rich or poor and so on. So in the sense that they are low born, that means you're always born in a place where it's looked down by people. So, and it's terrible. Okay. Then there are other things also. We cannot. If you want to read about it, it will be very good. So here, the Buddha already mentioned. Okay, here. the Buddha already mentioned that the question about how much your anger can give rise to reborn in the woeful states, it is very real. It is very real. That's why we need to have a certain degree of restraint. And it's good that, for example, when it is according to your question, that you can able to restrain it. Yeah, that you can able to restrain it and you're more mindful with it. That is wonderful, because this one you begin to chart a new course, a better course in samsara. Yeah? But the things that we have done earlier on, due to our ignorance and delusion, it will still come back to haunt us. The karma will still able to ripen. It is still able to ripen in this life or in the future lives. As long as we're still in samsara, it will still able to ripen. But as long as we are still here, able to do a lot of good deeds, we are still able to alive. Make sure that we do more and more good deeds, more and more mindful, more and more have more and more sila, more and more have generosity. Develop various mental cultivation. Then that will be good. At least while you're still samsara, before you get enlightened. Hopefully one day in future we can able to get out of this samsara. If not, this karma will always haunt us, because all the bad things and all the terrible things that we have done. Yeah? So number one and number two, hopefully the Buddha has answered your question. Yeah? So if you want to see it for yourself directly, how much this action and this action, whether it's going to be reborn in the woeful states, or whether you come back as a human being and so on, then that one needs psychic power, needs supernormal powers. Okay? All right, so this is on this question. Now, the next question also, it's also connected. On Wednesday, you mentioned self-admonishment to suppress anger. Admonishment is a strong word which means reprimand. Is that what is intended? You did say that the Buddha admonished as well. Is the self-admonishment intended to jot ourselves to realization, since anger is a powerful emotion? Yes, anger is a powerful karma. It's a powerful karma. Just now, earlier on, that we have seen it. Then I've used this word. I'll stop this sharing again. I go to my next, the last on Wednesday. This one. Let me share with you with this. This one. Stop. This one. Wait. Hold on. Back to. Where's my? Where's my Zoom? Wait, hold on. How come my Zoom thing cannot come up? My sharing thing. Hold on. Stop share. Yes, okay. Stop share. Now what I want to share is this. All right, okay. Now you see on the last Wednesday, I gave the talk here. Now I gave this talk because that we know that we cannot enter into the jhana to able to overcome all the anger. So if we cannot, then we have to reduce our anger so that the anger does not have a full-blown effect. So here, what I did, I go through all this number 1 to number 9 here. I did it because I'm also this list. I followed the traditional from the Visuddhimagga. Already 2,000 years of they laid down this way, how to overcome, how to reduce our anger. over 2,000 years ago. Yeah. But of course, in the modern terms also, we have also like modern psychology method, modern ways of how we can able to overcome or reduce the anger. I did not mention those things because I know that it wasn't able to fit into one talk. So I leave those things aside. So I go more towards the traditional way. Now, here, when I say use the word self-admonishing, it is intended in that way. It is in that self-admonishing accordance to the Dhamma, or self-admonishing through the proper reflection. Self-admonishing here is more like when your anger arises in us, then sometimes we need to have a strong voice in the head, as if like there's another you talking to yourself, Hey, anger arises already right now, Didn't the Buddha says about in the according to the simile of the saw, if even the bandit was to saw off your arms and legs away, you should not even have anger, being patient and so on. Could we be able to do that? So that self-admonishment is to help us to really to overcome the anger when it arises, so that to give us a break, or sometimes even accordance to the Dhamma, that just now that what we look into the Chula Kama Vibhanga Sutta, that one, that it says that even anger, if you do it, if you don't even kill also, if that anger give rise to violence, then it can have a potential to bring us into woeful states. Or even if we have the jealousy and so on, it can even to bring us into a woeful states. So therefore, the word self-admonishment is to give us a stronger thoughts in order to stop us from doing that particular action, speech, or even thoughts also. So a lot of times it comes up in a thought. A lot of us cannot control when the thoughts arises, the speech and the action also come together with it, right? So here what we can do is that we can reduce the anger in the thought. May not be zero, but we stop our speech and action, because that speech and action also will contribute to karma also, not just only in the mind, but speech and karma also contribute. So when we avoid that violence, we avoid those violence, and we avoid saying out and swearing at others and so on, then we sort of like cut off, at least on the speech and the action part. But the anger is still there, but we use this way, for example, to remind ourselves, the Buddha, what did the Buddha mention as accordance to the Dhamma? So sometimes this self-admonishment through proper reflection, also the same thing. But this is not in the sense of the Dhamma, but sometimes in the sense of a righteousness of certain thing. Now, for example, you understand why a person goes through that predicament. Instead of we opening our mouth and start swearing and start scolding other people, out of anger, then when we understand others people's situation, then with that, it reduces our anger, or it helps to settle our anger. At least it don't come out in the speech or action. When it comes to compassion, also the same thing. We understand out of compassion for him or her that he or she is going through. Then out of compassion with them, then we remind ourselves, this person is no point for us to get angry. So it is, in a way, is an admonishment. For most of us, if we're going to tell ourselves just a very soft, don't get angry, don't get angry. Our mind won't listen. Our mind will kind of jump up. jump up and overwhelm you. As I said, this anger can be a big problem. And when we are blinded by the anger, we don't care. Everybody we're going to scold, everybody we're going to swear on them, and everybody we're going to curse them, everybody we're going to open our mouth, and sometimes the violence may not come in, but the words are terrible. Imagine that sometimes at home, we see that our parents and sometimes the kids and the parents and all arguing and so on, that thing. And when they get angry, all kinds of words is coming out. It's terrible. We've seen that in most of our families at one time or another. So these things can cause a lot of problem. Well, what is worse? Not only just parents that we go and scolding. The worst thing is that you go and have anger or your action or your speech towards an enlightened person. That one even jialat. That one even worse. The karma is even worse. But we do not know who is the enlightened one. Who knows? You couldn't scold anybody. You thought that sometimes we thought that any what we call layperson, they thought that any layperson cannot be enlightened. No, some layperson are actually enlightened in a certain way. Yeah, okay. So, yes, it is strong. The word itself is strong. Okay, let's go back to this one. Next question. Wait, where's my next question gone? Okay. All right. Y'all see the question, right? On Wednesday you mentioned. Okay, right, good. Okay. Next question. All right. In Karaniya-metta Sutta, the Buddha advises all beings to refrain from having harmful thoughts and be harmless to others, just like the unconditional love of a mother to her child. My question is whether metta is more about wishing others to be free from mental suffering by practicing that way, rather than wishing them to be free from physical suffering, which is inevitable. You see, in this Metta Sutta, when the Buddha gave the discourse on this Metta Sutta with a group of monks, because this group of monks was harassed by some devas. Some devas, because this monk went to that area, that forest area to meditate, and then the devas was not very happy. So they create all kinds of smell, foul smell. They create all kinds of images and so on. Then after that, they went back to see the Buddha. So the Buddha gave them the Karaniya-metta Sutta and practiced this metta. And then they come back. They start with the metta. At the end of their vasa, then they got enlightened, but in the meantime, the devas begin to change their attitude, change their ways, and they begin to protect the monks and those who are practicing there by guarding and clearing all the places there to make the place comfortable for the monks. So that is what the Karaniya-metta Sutta was given. Now, here, when we say that this metta is more of a free from wishing others to be free from mental suffering, or rather to be free from physical suffering, which is inevitable? Well, metta and all the Brahma Viharas, it has to have all-encompassing. Whether it's going to be a mental suffering or physical suffering, we encompass the whole thing. Rather, although you say that the physical suffering is inevitable, yes, we know that it's inevitable, because if you look into Four Noble Truths, yes, suffering will always be there, dukkha will always be there in that sense. But while we are doing Brahma Vihara, we put aside all this type of Four Noble Truths and so on. We have to put aside. Because if we're going to mix them all up, then it's going to be a problem. Just like we're going to mix up all those things, like anicca, dukkha, anatta. This body, after all, is anicca, dukkha, anatta. They undergo suffering, undergo change all the time. What's the point of wishing them metta? No. So therefore, we are not looking at those things. This is another area altogether. It's another area. Because that area, when we look at it, is more developing of the wisdom factor. But if we want to develop the metta factor of the mind, then we are going to put aside all the other things. So we develop that metta. So while we are developing this metta, whatever the beings is, we generate a sense of protection, a wholesome wish, whether they are undergoing a mental or physical suffering. So it has to be encompassing. There is such a way that without exception to all beings, it has to encompassing them. So next time, if you were to do this, then next time you see beings in a state of suffering, and you want to wish them metta or karuna, then that time, maybe mental suffering is more important rather than physical suffering. So it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. It is encompassing. It's like the metta is that give you the umbrella. It's a protective umbrella to the person or to the being or to the beings. To give them that protectiveness, just like, as you said, unconditional love to mother to her child. Then the mother to her child, the mother is always concerned with the physical and also the mental well-being of the child. It cannot be only for the well-being of mental well-being of the child and not so much on the physical well-being of the child. So metta has to be encompassing everything. All this of the being itself, of the being. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question. Hold on. Bhante, since we have performed our duties that cause impediments in our spiritual practice, kindly advise how to cut off or minimize our thinking once of duty. The answer is in your question already. Don't you get it? You see or not? The answer is actually in the question already. The impediments that cause you all your problems, then what do you think that how are you going to cut off your thinking and so on? It's the impediments itself. And you say that we have to still perform all the duties and so on. Yes, it is true, because as a layperson, you still have to perform all your various duties and responsibility, whether household, whether your business, whether your career, and so on. So you have to perform this duty. Then the Buddha mentioned that the way of the world is one way. The way towards Nibbana is another way. It's like 180 degrees, they're different. One is on the other side, one is on left, and one is on the right. Now you are at the center. How are you going to pull yourself? Are you going to pull yourself towards this or here? So it's very difficult to ask you to stop all your work and so on in order to cut it off, all the thinking. So it is impossible. So it is really impossible. With all your work and so on, you just cannot stop the thinking mind and the planning mind and so on, the restless mind. And when you come into the sitting and everything just shut down, as if like you want as if like when I read your design, at least you want a very shortcut. You want everything in life. You want peacefulness, and yet you want a lot of money. you want everything. Everything you also want. Cannot. It's impossible. But we can. You see, we can do a few ways. We can do a few things. Whether you can cut down on your impediments or not. That means you learn to streamline onto the things that you are doing in your everyday life, or generally in your everyday life. For example, sometimes you have work and so on, and those work that perhaps it is important. Yes, we need to this one, but during at that time while we are working, can we change certain way of how our mindset is? Perhaps that maybe we are more calm while we are working. Is that a possibility? I'm not sure, because I'm not working for the past 20 over years. That answer, you have to answer it for yourself. I'm not the coach, I'm not the mentor to do all these type of things, But there are people who are mentoring for you to become more calm and able to produce more productive in that sense. But I'm not in that area. But I'm guessing that it can be done. That while you're working, can you able to reduce some of your thinking and some of your too much over planning and things like that, So I'm not really sure, because if you can cut off some of those things and more streamline, perhaps you can able to reduce some of your thinking. Can you also go through your day-to-day life? Can you able to incorporate some mindfulness or metta or karuna into your work while you're going through? Now those aspects of the mind, it helps to reduce your over attachment, over involvement into certain things. Now sometimes, for example, like when you are in working, exactly how many hours you spend in front of the camera? Camera is in front of the computer. How long you spend in front of the computer? You are totally into the computer jhana. Like you are there, oh, 3 hours are gone. But when you are meditating, pain here, pain there, you're half an hour, and it's also cannot sampai, also cannot reach. But when you are doing your work, so involved into it, so much planning into it, those things contribute to a lot of your thinking later on. And also it becomes a very strong habit. But if we can able to manage it by sort of stop for a while, just take a breather, mindful for a while, or radiate metta, 1 line or 2 lines, and then do it frequently, or mindful a bit here, being present, just bring the mind back to the body, being present here, without doing anything, just kind of cut the mind off from all the things that we do. If we can do that, perhaps it can reduce much of those thinking. So sometimes we need to avoid, perhaps, are you skillful enough to avoid some of the office bickering, office politics, and so on? Are you able to do that? Perhaps if you could do that, then it helps to calm the mind down a little bit. Help you calm the mind down a little bit. So when you're able to do that over time, so therefore your mind is in a way more calmer than before. But you're still able to perform your duties. You're still able to be productive. And that is great. That is wonderful. Nowadays, these things you have to engage some personal trainer or personal coach or mindfulness teacher, right? And you got to pay money for all those things, and in order for you to be more productive, more calm, and so on. And here we are giving all free. The Buddha is giving all these things, and we put tidak apa, we don't care, don't bother. And yet we want some more shortcut. So we got to make some effort while we are there, while we are in it, when we are working and so on. All right, there's one thing that perhaps you can do. Now, occasionally also, I would advise also, we've got to stop all these impediments, and then we go for a retreat. In other words, you give up your job for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 1 month if you can. Then stop all those things and go into a retreat. A retreat means a retreat from all the impediments, all your duties and so on. So we go into a retreat, and in the retreat, then for the first week, our habit is still connected to our work and so on. Maybe after the second week onwards, then the mind starts to calm down. When the mind starts to calm down, that time you can able to develop further. And that will be good if you do it occasionally. Yeah. The Buddha also mentioned that, like on the Uposatha days, like when Uposatha first on the 8th or 7th, and also on the 14th or 15th, then it says that you should take up the 8 precepts. And taking up the 8 precepts, then that time you avoid working and so on. Then you go to a temple or stay in a temple, for example. Then you keep the mind calm, keep the mind peaceful as best as you can. Nowadays, not during the lockdown. Nowadays, during this time, like for example, in certain temple in Mahindrama, or even in the Sri Lankan temple, or even in Thai temple or Burmese temple, when it comes to this first 8 or 15, usually the first and the 15th, and then they come in to stop their work and they go into a temple, and they keep the 8 precepts. Which is good. So during the time of the Buddha, then they have this like Uposatha is their Sundays. It's like their Sabbath day. It's like they stop their work, they stop their business, and then they observe the 8 precepts for those who are very devout into the Buddha's teaching. So during that time, they avoid those things, and when they do it again and again over time, over the years, it helps to keep the mind more aligned to the Dhamma, and not so involved in too much into the greed and over attachment and so on. So if we can able to do that, that will be good. So this thing, it will take you a long period of time. So when you day-to-day part of it, so because you can able to manage your lifestyle and the way that how you manage your mind, during while you're working or in your business, then when you kind of like off duty, as you say, when you are, in the evening and night, sometimes because of your mind managed better, then when it comes to the evening, the mind still somewhat able to meditate and able to cool down. Able to cool down. So because a lot of times how we manage our duties and so on is not very skillful, then we create a lot of after effect when it comes into the evening. Then a lot of times we say we cannot meditate, mind is restless and so on, because of, again, our duties can be a lot. And also the way how we manage those things. So this, I am not, as I said, I'm not a coach in this area. I'm not a mentor in this area. Perhaps there are people who are more suited than me, but I can understand because of your a lot of impediment, a lot of duty, a lot of thinking. Then therefore, when you come into the evening or night, you will create a lot of this problem. My job, my way, is the better way is make sure that every now and then we go into a retreat. It's a better way actually. Go into a retreat for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe. Okay. All right. It's already 10 o'clock. I got still one more question, but this one I cannot able to explain a lot to you because I will explain this topic on the Metta Jhana on another talk after the Metta Bhavana thing. As I said, after the Metta Bhavana, we're going to talk about that. Now, the question is, what is Metta? Is it a goal only a small percentage of yogis can attain? How do we know that we have attained the first jhana? So all these questions are later part, another day, we're going to answer all this one. But just give you a rough idea. What is this Metta Jhana? Now, jhana, the word jhana here, as usually when we use it in the samatha practice, it means it's a deep absorption of the mind. But in other occasions, when we use the word jhana, it also means meditation. It depends on context of how you use the Pali word jhana. So here, if we use the word jhana as in the absorption part of it, then here is the mind itself when it develops for a certain period, and the mind can able to mature and balance and so on. When it comes to a time, the mind can able to absorb into a deep absorption. And while in the deep absorption during this time, it's called jhana. It's a state of consciousness. It's a state of mind. This state of mind, it's a very different from our everyday state of mind. This jhana cannot be attained if we do not cultivate the mind. If we are on this everyday from seeing, smelling, hearing, all this hearing, smelling, tasting, consciousness, all those things, it cannot arise the jhana. This jhana consciousness can only be aroused by development of especially samatha meditation. For example, metta, it can able to arouse that jhana consciousness, and one can able to absorb into it for a long period of time. And this jhana consciousness is a very wholesome consciousness. It's a very strong, wholesome consciousness that it produces, that when it's an effect, when it comes to have a resultant, you are reborn in the Brahma realm, not just a Deva realm or human realm. It is a Brahma realm. So it's a deep state of consciousness. Only when, if you develop it, then there will be there. Yeah? Number 2, is it a goal which only a small percentage of yogis can attain? The question is this: only small percent? Actually, no. The whether it's big also no. The thing is that it's not about percentage. It's about how much have you put the work into it. If you put a little bit, then of course none. If you put a lot of work, maybe then you put more in it, perhaps one day, yes. So the percentage here is accordance to how much you are willing to spend your time and your effort into the mental development. Because a lot of people do not have the time and do not have the effort and the desire to develop the state of mind, and therefore it's only small percentage okay. So hopefully all of you not in that. Hopefully all of you can able to make an effort. Now put in some time. Then perhaps this jhana, it's potential for you to able to attain. It's potential if you develop them. Not to say it's impossible. Later part when we talk about the jhana thing, when I talk about another talk, when we talk about those things, I can say that. Not to say that it's too difficult. I wouldn't say it's too difficult. It's just that you must know how the technique and strategy of how to develop those things. And number 3, how do we know that we have attained the first Metta Jhana? Now, that one, again, it through by your own experience. This Metta Jhana, when you attained it, First time, perhaps you may not understand it. But when you attain it again and again and again and again and again and again and again for so many times, you repeat it again for some time, then yes, perhaps you can able to know it much more clearer. Yeah? But if you just like meditate, I'll tell you what is not first. Tell you what is not first metta jhana, so you can at least cancel everything out, all those things out. Is easier rather than tell you what it is. If you sit there, you meditate, then you metta, and then after that everything become peaceful, calm. Then you come out from it, ho sei liao. You know, you think you're metta jhana. That one is not. So you cancel that one off. Just because you're calm and peaceful, then you think that is jhana. No, that is not. But in the deeper development of jhana, yes, it is calm and peaceful, but not every form of calm and peaceful is jhana. Yeah? So a lot of time yogis just interpret on their own what is calm and peaceful jhana. So that one is not. Just really meditate a little bit and calm and peaceful. Or let's say another one. You meditate on this jhana, meditate, and then after that, your words all become quiet. Your words become quiet. That means there's no more. There's still metta, but your words cannot come out anymore. It all become quiet. Then you think that, ho sei liao, jhana also. That one is not jhana, but that one is quite good level, but it's called excess concentration. Excess concentration or neighborhood concentration. Yes, it's good because it's free from all the hindrances. But sometimes yogi interpret that as jhana. So that is also not jhana. You meditate further a little bit more or a lot more, then yes, jhana will come. Or sometimes you sit there, you meditate, and then you start smiling, start very smiling and feel very happy, very pleasant in the heart, and then you kind of like going on for a while, then you come out from the meditation, ho sei liao, jhana again. That again is not jhana. And that is again, it is not jhana. You haven't reached jhana, but it is a good sign in the sense that at least the mind is calm. But the problem is that you get attached to all this stuff, all this comfort and clear and calm and so on. So that is not jhana. So jhana has come in with a very different state. Compared to the worldly state and when it compared to a jhana state, there is a jump in consciousness. It's not just gradual, it's a real jump in consciousness. Real jump in concentration, not consciousness. It's a real jump in concentration. In a way, a consciousness also, because it's a different consciousness from a worldly consciousness. So when there's a difference, then perhaps later on you will able to see it. Okay, so that one I'll keep those. I'll keep it in the next talk. Okay, not the next maybe in another talk. All right. So that's it for tonight. There's no more questions. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, on Monday is the closing. So on the closing, we're going to it's kind of like a closing talk, and then we're going to share a number of things. We're going to summarize everything what we have done for the past 1 month. Okay, so all right. So we come back on Monday again. So now we share merits.